to Amplifying Leadership, a podcast for new and seasoned leaders where we share guest stories, wins, tips, challenges, and more. My name is Tara Lehman, and I'm a partner, coach, and consultant at Twin Life Coaching and Business Services, of which Amplifying Leadership is a division. For our leadership clients, we aim to support you through this podcast, tools, coaching, workshops, community, and more as part of our services. To learn more about Amplifying Leadership and our leadership community, please visit amplifyingleadership.ca. Today, I am welcoming Genevieve Piturro, a best-selling and award-winning author, inspirational speaker, and founder of Pajama Program. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tara. I'm so happy to be here.
So I always like to start the show with understanding your leadership story or where you came to from, etc. But Pajama Program, I feel like I want to start with that. What is that? I mean, I love the name, but maybe within your leadership story, also maybe share a little bit about what that is.
Sure. Well, I never thought that I'd be talking to you or anybody about pajamas or something called Pajama Program. I was a corporate climber. I wanted to have that corner office. I was in New York City working in marketing, and I always wanted to be Mary Tyler Moore. I watched her growing up. I was a kid, and my dad, who came to America off the boat from Italy, and my mom, American born but Italian, both thought I'd follow traditionally, what they'd hoped. Go to school, get an education, yes, but get married and have kids, grandchildren. And I'm the oldest of four, and I wanted to be married. I just wanted that fabulous life, that career, and I was doing that. And 12 years in, I was VP of a TV company in Manhattan when I heard a voice in me ask, if this is the next 30 years of your life, is this enough?
Yes. Yeah.
That was the first question that rocked me. I thought of something.
Little self-discovery.
Yes. And I didn't know where that voice came from. I call it my heart voice. We all know that there are voices in us that we don't listen to, and it doesn't head chatter I know well, but this heart voice, soul voice. So I in a quiet afternoon, I heard a voice that came from somewhere deep in me. It was not a head chatter voice that I know well. And this voice whispered, but loud enough for me to hear the question, if this is the next 30 years of your life, is this enough? And it really rocked me because I'd never heard that or tried to get out. I had never paid attention. And I realized there was something missing, that I was just climbing so fast that there wasn't any meaning. And if I kept doing it, I'd be old and alone, and who cares about how much money I might make? Yeah. And I realized in a second or two, children, I had chosen not to have them. I wanted my career, but I wanted to find a way now to bring them into my life because I knew I put my finger right on what was missing. So I started reading in shelters to children. And I saw all those horrible news reports about what parents and caregivers do to some of these children, and it was despicable. And I called around and I found some shelters, and I asked if I could read to children at night, and they said, sure. And
awesome.
It was great. And so in my business suit, off I went and bought children's bedtime books and read. And these children were in an emergency shelter. And I didn't know much about that, but police and social workers bring them from a horrible situation, you can imagine, to safety. And those are the shelters that process them and decide next steps. So the children are coming in with soiled clothes, ill-fitting clothes, whatever they had when the police or social worker grabbed them. And when I got there and sat on this floor in a very bare room, and the children came in, everything stopped. And I felt so connected when they sat down in front of me. And my heart was breaking. Each and every one looked sad and lonely and afraid. I felt like they're looking at me for something. I can't imagine what I can offer them, but let me just read. And I just connected. And one night I said, let me see where they're taking them to go to sleep after I read to them. And I followed. And it was an equally bare room that was called the bedroom, sleeping huddled together on single futons and cots. They were safe, But my mom gave us a bedtime that was like, I thought all moms give kids, loving and fun and reassuring and comforting, and pajamas. And I'm looking at these kids in the clothes that they've been wearing for who knows how long. They couldn't even be comfortable. I saw them squirming. And I asked on my way out if I could bring pajamas. And they said, okay. And I did. And after I read the first time with the pajamas and handed them out, a little girl halfway through the line just was so afraid of me. She wouldn't take the pajamas. She just wouldn't take them. And for about half an hour, I tried. I gave all the other kids pajamas. She kept saying no and backing away from me, so afraid of me. I didn't know what was going on. I found out years later the type of situations that would have prompted her behavior, but I didn't know then. And finally, I tried one more time on my knees to show her how soft they were so I could look her in the eye. And she just leaned in and she said, "What are pajamas?"
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Wow.
And that was the killer. That was the question. She couldn't even say the word pajamas. She said, what are pajamas? She made out the word. And that sort of broke me. And I just couldn't get her out of my mind. I couldn't reignite the love I had for a workaholic life. And I just wanted to be bringing pajamas and books to these children because of course I learned it was love, it was comfort. Even though they wouldn't maybe see me all the time, they would know if somebody cared.
Welcome that,
So that began the journey that over, now it's been over 24 years. It grew, and it's beautiful.
Incredible. I love that story. And I love that the Pajama Program came to fruition for these children. I'm sure they all still are remembering or thanking for that. That's awesome story. Congratulations on your program too.
Thank you. Well, it takes lots of people. We have 40 some chapters around the U.S., 7 million
pairs of
pajamas, 7 million plus.
That's amazing.
So, if it was just me, I'd still be like Santa Claus with a sack on my back. But
but you still are in a different way.
Mrs. Claus.
So I want to talk now about your leadership journey with this program. Obviously, it's a large organization now. And prior to our recording today, you had talked about past, present, and future leadership. And I want to start with maybe some emerging leaders, maybe some of these children who've been in part of your programs. What do you feel when it comes to leadership, some emerging leaders or new leaders maybe facing? What challenges do you think they might have to overcome?
I think, I had to learn because when I started growing Pajama Program and having to make these decisions first by myself and then hiring people, et cetera, I didn't want to be a boss. That's what I had. And I think a lot of us, especially if we've been in the workforce more than 20 years, our first leaders were really bosses, not leaders.
Yeah,
we didn't even use the word leader. They told you what to do. You sat at a table. He or she spoke. You said yes. You told
nodded your head.
And they told you what's going to happen next. Nobody said, "What do you think?" Rarely, right?
Yeah.
Those were bosses. And I didn't want that because what I realized was I was finding purpose. And I'm not sure how many of those bosses ever would use that word for what they were leading, a purposeful company. They had a bottom line and
numbers.
That was the thing too. So I think when I started to feel emotionally connected to what I was doing, which is key, no matter if you are shuffling papers or you are caring for someone who needs care, you have to be emotional. You have to know that what you're doing is making a difference.
Yes,
agreed. If you're making boxes, those boxes are going to carry someone's belongings when they move. There's a reason that you want to do this, or there needs to be invested in it.
Yeah, it's the purpose.
Yeah. And I felt that. And over the years, I think certainly through and post-pandemic, the word leadership came out. But I think the number one thing that we all have to keep in mind for leadership is inspired leadership. We
Yes.
want leaders to inspire us.
Yes. And we want to bring in those leaders, right, who are inspirational. We want to teach them. Yeah.
Yes. And I don't think that that was a priority. I don't even think that that was something people assumed a boss would be, inspiring. But we sort of demand it now.
Yeah, and it's true. I mean, especially the younger generation, they want to be heard. You know, it's funny you mentioned boxes. My husband worked at a box company years ago, but there was a purpose behind it, and they felt a sense of purpose there. And that's what you need in any company, is that sense of purpose. Like you said, it's that you belong and that you feel included and heard, of course. So let me ask you the exact same question, but with seasoned leaders. So, you know, someone who's been leading for a long time, and maybe the challenges they face in our very changing and challenging world. It's very volatile. Things are crazy. Profit margins might be up and down depending on what happened during COVID and now. So what would you think those types of, what are those types of challenges maybe facing some seasoned leaders?
Well, I think first, a lot of the bosses coming through the pandemic and now seeing how people want to be treated at work. I think some of those bosses retired, and that's a good thing. I think there's a group that didn't want things to change.
I'm sure there still is.
How to change, yeah. And so they decided that they would retire or leave. I think that that's a good thing, because their time was well, served. We learned a lot from our bosses. They got a lot done. Yes. They left for, all of us. We all made money. But I don't know that they would have easily made the shift. Whereas those who, there's something in them that gets it. And that maybe they realize, looking back, wow, there was so much we missed and we missed out on. That is brought to our attention now. This is really important, and I'm all in. Yeah. And I think that that's fabulous.
I do too. I think if we can all learn and grow as professionals and as leaders, and we grow with society and the things that people demand and want, that makes us better leaders over time. So let me ask you this then. When it comes to the communication side of things, we're all different if we're younger or older or somewhere in the middle. How do you think communication maybe has changed from the past to the present? And do you feel that maybe there's any differences about how it might look in the future? I mean, I know we can't predict the future, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think we said it before, and you might have said it before when we had bosses and we went to meetings. They would talk, we would listen. It's turning around, or at least it's becoming 50-50. So I think you really don't know how to motivate or inspire an employee or a team member if you don't listen to what moves them.
Active listening. Yeah.
So I think it takes time. It takes genuine consideration and care and interest. But I think leaders now need to, and some are doing a great job, getting to know everybody as a person. Finding out. I mean, wasn't there a survey years ago that said more people would rather have a pat on the back than an increase in salary? And that's amazing.
Gratitude, right?
Be seen. Thank you. You did a great job. I mean, I understand the need for money, but I thought that was a very sad survey result that they have both.
Yes. And, I'm an advocate for one-on-one meetings or asking for feedback, and even feedback on your own leadership. How am I doing? Is there anything I can help you with? Is there anything that I need to change? Or is there a better way to communicate? Because we all communicate differently as well, right? I mean, you have some people who might be, still a little bit stuck in the path that you're trying to now bring into the current. And we have to figure out how to talk to those people and those generations. It's a multi-generational workforce for sure.
Yes. And I don't know if you know the book, but it's very valid for business. It was written years ago, The 5 Love Languages.
Okay.
And it's it really is an eye opener for obviously relationships, but it's very similar for businesses. It's if you think that showing concern and care and in the relationship, love by vacuuming for your husband or wife, if they don't see that as love, if they see that as you taking the easy way out, I would really appreciate you taking my hand when we're walking. That to love me is love. You have to get on the same page, the same currency, the same language. And it's the same thing. A boss might think, I gave everyone a raise. I gave everyone, a party.
Yeah,
but
they should be happy.
Yeah, they should be happy. Yeah. But then you walk around the halls and people are doing good things and they're trying to have a conversation and you just don't have time. You don't make time. So you're thinking you're getting an A, but you're not listening. You're not bothering to find out what does it mean? What would mean the same thing I think I'm doing to them?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Say, I don't want a party. I'd love an hour of your time.
Yeah. Just let me say what I have to say, or, hey, I have a great idea for you, or there's a big safety concern. Can you please hear me out? Yes, so many those bosses, as you're calling them, who aren't quite leaders, or maybe they won't be leaders, forget about some of those key things, which is psychological and physical safety. And if you can't give that to your employees, if you can't show them that gratitude, if you can't listen to what they have to say, they're gonna leave, and you're gonna be stuck with high turnover, or unhappy workforce.
Right. And there's health, wellness, and family now. That's front and center.
Yes.
When you were working for a boss, they didn't want to hear family things. No. If you were a woman, you don't bring up your kids, don't bring up your family. If you're a man, don't tell me you have to go to the concert. And now it's front and center,
Absolutely. Yeah. Work-life balance has become very, very important to all people. And I say to leaders, you need it too. It's not just about your team. It's about you too. And having that balance and being able to go to the games or being able to take vacation are so important.
Yeah. So, an employee isn't it said that most of the people who quit because they don't like their boss?
Yeah, it's true. Or the culture or something that doesn't speak to them. You have to be able to speak to your employees so that they are there for you. And that's what you want, there for you, for your customers, for your vendors, right? It's so important. So if we had to think about leading effectively, putting aside what we've already spoke about, with communication, etc., what do you feel is the next biggest piece of effective leadership?
Boy, that's $1 million question.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
It really is. And I'm excited and, I'm eager to see where everyone lands, but I don't think it's going to be the same for everyone. Agreed. I don't think all companies are equal in number of employees or in, every culture is different and every city is different. So I think what it comes down to is the leader and his or her team. What's important to them? What's important to your employees and your teams? And when you're hiring, what are you looking for and what are they asking for? So I think because it's going to be different in Chicago than it's going to be in Cleveland, than it's going to be in San Francisco. It's just
absolutely.
It is. We're learning health, wellness, family balance is universal. But I think it's going to go beyond that because of differences in people's lifestyles in different cities and ages. Some people will be new parents, and what is that going to be for a change in policies in different companies? And our grandparents going to say, this is our dream grandchildren. Are they going to say, let's have a grandparent week? Or I don't know.
Who knows what the future brings?
I think it's going to be fun. And I know people are afraid people will take advantage, but you know what? Sometimes the pendulum goes all the way. We're seeing a lot of that, have been seeing it in the pandemic and after, and it comes back, but it's sort of exploring a new world.
I like that.
Yeah. As long as people are willing on both sides to have a conversation and that they basically want to make where they're working a place they want to invest in,
Mm-hmm.
then I think you're coming to the table looking for that, old-fashioned win-win phrase.
Yeah.
You can't, but if somebody's disgruntled and is going to leave, I don't know that that would be the best example of how to grow the company in a good direction, because if somebody's that disgruntled, they'll leave anyway, even if you give them stuff. But if you get your rising stars and you get your new hires together to say, we're eagerly anticipating some great changes that will benefit us all. And honestly, we have to make the bottom line grow. That's definitely a priority. Nobody's lying about that.
Yeah.
How can we make you happy to be part of this team? And see what they say. Because I don't think people are they'll joke to say,
Money.
10 a year vacation. But I think if a leader is genuine, I think that the response will be genuine from the teams and the employees.
Mm-hmm. And I like to believe that when you have a happier workforce, the profits naturally come because people want to go to work. So you don't have the pre-absent or absenteeism rates or, disgruntled employees taking others with them. If you have a happier workplace, things naturally happen.
And
you get the innovations and the ambassadors, exactly.
Outside the four walls or outside their Zooms.
Yes.
They're in the community, and they say you don't like something, you tell 10 times more people than when you like something. And
yes, I agree. And if you get those ambassadors out there who maybe they're bringing in new customers or clients for you, it's about having that happier workforce. And no, you're right. We can't keep everybody happy. The disgruntled's are out there. But if we can figure out why, and if there is a systematic problem, fix it, then, we could have a happier workforce going forward, no matter what age group you have together.
I think you're right, Tara.
Yeah. So I want to know if there's like a big tip that our audience can take from you today when it comes to moving forward with leadership into the future, something that maybe they can think about today and start acting on soon.
I think two things. I think it's never too late to make a change. It's never too late to bring your whole self to the table. Now's the time to do it. And we're giving everybody permission, right? Seems to be that everybody's feeling overdue with their voice. I think now's the time. Bring your wishes and your questions to the office, to your leaders, to the Zooms, or if you're not in person. Bring it all and do it with grace, consideration, not selfishly, but
yes, agree. Yeah, professionally too.
Professionally, and maybe there are a whole bunch of people who feel the same way, and maybe you want to say, "This has been bothering me," or "I have had this idea, and I'm just wondering if I can talk to you about it." It's never too late, because it could be the winning idea and you might be surprised at the reception that you get.
Yeah.
So that for sure. And the second thing is just embrace the human connection. I can't tell you how much better things work out when you seek someone out, whether it's at the company or outside in any way, shape, or form, with anything you're grappling with. There's always a way to share and to find an answer if you're searching. So I know we're all afraid to look dumb, me included. We all that, we don't know what we're doing. We all think the stupidest question, and everyone's going to snicker. And for then moving forward, we'll be known as, the one who asked that question.
The question.
No, I've learned. I've been dumb and embarrassed, and I just had to. I tried the other way, keeping my mouth shut. I can't tell you how many mistakes I made because I was so afraid. And the minute I started asking, people, I think they felt like, oh, I wanted to ask the same thing.
Probably true. Like probably 95% of the time.
That doesn't matter, because it doesn't matter. If you're honest, people will give you a pass if it is something that they think you should have known. Don't worry about it.
And I'm going to quick touch back to what you were, one thing you were talking about earlier, which is about, never give up on goals or dreams, that type of thing that you kind of alluded to. And I want to say that I had this quote, and unfortunately I can't remember who said it, but is dreams do not have an expiry date. So your workplace dreams, your personal dreams, they don't have an expiry date. And it doesn't matter how old you are. It's never too late.
Absolutely.
I love that you mentioned that.
Absolutely. I come across, because I jumped, 12 years in, I was in my mid to late 30s. And, a lot of people come to me and say, well, I think it's too late. No, that whatever
Never
you
too
do
late.
back burner, bring it up. If the pandemic taught us anything, it was like a near-death experience.
Yes. Yes. Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much today for sharing all of your inspiration with us.
Thank you for inviting me. I hope that your listeners take something away from my experience.
I hope so. So if our guests wanted to learn more about you or get a hold of you, is there a way they can do that online?
Yeah, sure. I have a website, GenevievePiturro.com, and I'm on social media. So reach out. I'd love to hear from anyone. And I always offer a free consultation if you're thinking about making a major change in life and finding your purpose and maybe thinking about your legacy.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tara.
Thank you. Thank you to our listeners. I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Genevieve. If you are in leadership or maybe even hope to be a leader one day, who knows that support and developing your skills are the way to move forward on your leadership journey, or perhaps you want to be part of a community. Please visit amplifyingleadership.ca, a Twin Life Coaching and Business Services division. Until next time, please be safe and be an amazing leader or leader to be.